Alright everyone, budget magic time. It's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive. This week we have a super sweet one. This deck is so awesome. We are playing Heartless Summoning Combo in Modern. Anyway, as you can see, $24 online, $74 in paper. Not bad at all for a competitive Modern deck. So this deck is really cool. It's not the best combo in Modern. That belongs to Splinter Twin, I think. Although, as you'll see, we play Splinter Twin in one of the videos, and actually it doesn't go too bad. So, but no spoilers here. Anyway, so the deck is built around Heartless Summoning. Heartless Summoning is a 2-mana, 1 and a black enchantment from Innistrad. It says, creature spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. Creatures you control get -1/-1. So one of the ways that people have tried to use Heartless Summoning is playing big artifact creatures, like you can play Worm Coils cheaper, things like that. When you play big creatures, Heartless Summoning is sweet because you don't really mind if they get -1/-1. Your Worm Coil, you get to play it for 4 mana, and sure, it's only a 5/5 instead of a 6/6, but a 5/5 Death Touch lifelink artifact with Worm Coil's abilities is still insane. The other way to do it is do it as a combo deck, which is what we got going on here. And instead of working around the -1/-1, we take advantage. It's actually the key piece of the deck. This card, both parts of it are necessary for our combo to work. So, step 1 is Heartless Summoning. We have a really, really hard time, but basically impossible, for us to win the game without Heartless Summoning on the battlefield. The other main piece of our combo is Altar of the Brood. So Altar of the Brood, 1 converted mana cost artifact. Whenever another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent puts the top card of his or her library into his or her graveyard. So obviously with Altar of the Brood, if you can repetitively or repeatedly have permanents enter the battlefield, you can mill your opponent's entire library. So, what do we use to make this happen? Well, Mirror Retriever. Mirror Retriever, as you can see, costs 2 mana, and it's an artifact, so colorless mana. And 2 just happens to be how much Heartless Summoning reduces a creature's converted mana cost. So, with a Heartless Summoning on the battlefield, we can cast a Mirror Retriever for free. It's also a 1/1, so remember, Heartless Summoning is giving it -1/-1, so not only do we cast it for free, but it immediately dies when it enters the battlefield, and it has this sweet ability where when Mirror Retriever is put in the graveyard, you can return another artifact from your graveyard to your hand. So, with 2 Mirror Retrievers, an Altar of the Brood, and a Heartless Summoning, you just win the game on the spot. Heartless Summoning makes your Mirror Retrievers cross 0, so you cast it for free. Altar of Brood mills a card. Then the Mirror Retriever dies, gets back the other Mirror Retriever from your graveyard, and you just go through this loop. You can cast the mirror for free, it dies, you mill a card, and you get the one back. So after like 30 or 40 iterations of that loop, you mill every card out of your opponent's library, they draw a card on their draw step, and you win the game. So that is the combo. It's basically a 3-piece combo, although you do need 2 copies of Mirror Retriever to really make it work. This is basically the only way we can win the game. Yes, in theory, we can beat down with a Mirror Retriever or something, but basically this is purely a combo deck, and the rest of the deck is pretty much devoted to protecting or putting together the combo. So we have 3 copies of Trinket Mage. Trinket Mage, 2 and a blue for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you can search your library for an artifact with converted mana cost 1 or less. Well, what do we have that's an artifact with converted mana cost of 1 or less? We have Altar of the Broods. Trinket Mage allows us to search up our Altar of the Broods and basically gives us 6 copies of Altar of the Broods in our deck. And it's also something we can use as a chump blocker. With Heartless Summoning, we can cast our Trinket Mage for only 1 mana, but it doesn't die, it stays on the battlefield as a 1/1, and we can chump something for a turn. It gives us a little time to pull off our combo. Muldrifter is basically just our card draw spell. The sweet thing about Muldrifter is with Heartless Summoning, you can cast it for Evoke for 1 blue mana and draw 2 cards. That is the main reason it's included in the deck. And even for 3 mana, you can cast it in a way that leaves it alive as a chump blocker. So that's just a way to cycle through our deck. It doesn't really do anything with our combo, but it's a way to draw more cards and draw into our combo. The other cards for putting together our combo are 4 copies of Muddle the Mixture. This one's sweet because not only does it counter an instant or sorcery, which is relevant in protecting our combo, the way the combo gets disrupted mostly is either something that can exile our graveyard, like a Surgical Extraction, or something that can destroy our Altar of the Brood, like a Nature's Claim or some other artifact or enchantment removal spell. So Muddle the Mixture can counter those spells, but it also has Transmute. So with Transmute, it's basically a tutor, but it only tutors for things of the same converted mana cost. So we pay 1 and 2 blue mana, discard Muddle the Mixture, and uncounterably, we search our library for something with the converted mana cost of 2. And what do we have that's converted mana cost 2? Well, for one thing, Heartless Summoning, one piece of our combo, and also Mirror Retriever. So it's a way to get our first or second copy of Mirror Retriever. So that's a lot of combo pieces it can pick up. We also have a single copy of Fabricate. Fabricate is a little bit like Muddle the Mixture. It doesn't counter anything, but for 3 mana, 2 and a blue, you search your library for an artifact, reveal it, and put it in your hand, then shuffle. This one can get us either a copy of Mirror Retriever or an Altar of the Brood, so it can search up a total of 7 combo pieces. Finally, probably the sweetest one, Jared Orders. This is our you win the game spell. If we can get our Heartless Summoning and Altar of the Brood part of our combo on the table, what we're missing is 2 copies of Mirror Retriever. Jared Orders is 2, a black and a green. You search your library for 2 creatures and reveal them. One you put in your graveyard, the other one goes into your hand. So this immediately searches for 2 copies of Mirror Retriever. One goes into the graveyard, which doesn't even matter, because when we cast the first one and it dies due to Heartless Summoning, we get the second one back anyway. So this, in our deck, sometimes we do other things with it, but most of the time it says search for 2 Mirror Retrievers. But really, we can also, if we need to, you can search for 2 Trinket Mages or 2 Muldrifters to draw some cards or search out an Altar of the Brood. But normally, the reason it's in the deck is to find the 2 Mirror Retrievers to complete the combo. So those are the combo pieces. We have, the combo itself, Altar of the Brood, Mirror Retriever, and Heartless Summoning. Then we have Fabricates, Jared's Orders, and Trinket Mages to find our combo, as well as Muddle the Mixture. And then we have some things to either protect, or to protect our combo, either proactively or reactively. We have 3 main deck copies of Duress. 1 black, target opponent reveals his hand, choose a non-creature, non-land card from it, the player discards it. Basically, this is a way to get a counter spell out of our opponent's hand, also an artifact or enchantment removal spell that could break up our combo. If we weren't on a budget, it would probably just be Thoughtseize, because we don't really care too much about the loss of life, and that would let us hit other things as well, like Vendilion Clicks or Snapcasters. But Duress is a great budget substitute in a deck like this. A single copy of Gigadrouse. The idea of Gigadrouse is you can pay 1 blue, it's an instant with Replicate for 1 blue, so every time you play 1 blue, you make a copy of it, basically. And it says tap target permanent. So if we know we're about to go off, but we're worried about our opponent having counter spells, we can play this on our opponent's end step, tap down all their lands, and then we can proceed to go off on our turn. So this is basically another defense against counter spells, or even instant speed removal. If we have a Heartless Summoning in our hand and we're worried about our opponent playing an Abrupt Decay and killing it, we just tap out our opponent on their turn, play the Heartless Summoning, combo off, win. 2 copies of Swan Song. This pops up in a lot of my decks, it seems like. Counter target enchantment, instant, or sorcery. Its controller puts a 2/2 blue bird creature token with flying on the battlefield. So this, basically, same way, just another way of protecting our combo by winning a counter war. Also has some fringe value in that it can counter like a Thoughtseize for 1 mana if it's going to take a combo piece. It can also counter a Splinter Twin. But mostly it's there, just another cheap way to protect our combo. 2 copies of Remand, same thing, counter target spell, goes back to the player's hand and you draw a card. This one is a way to protect our combo. It also cycles through our deck, which is pretty nice. And then 4 copies of Dismember. Might seem weird to have 4 removal spells in a combo deck, because this really doesn't help with our combo. But our combo is dependent on the graveyard, and it's not super fast. Why it's possible to do it fairly quickly, like as soon as turn 2 with the nut draw. I mean, if you just have land into Altar of the Brood, land into Heartless Summoning, and then you have 2 copies of Mere Retriever in your hand, you can just win on turn 2. But most of the time, turn 3, turn 4, sometimes even later if you're playing the control game and trying to get around Disruption. But Dismember is necessary because things like Scavenging Ooze just ruin our day. A single copy of Scavenging Ooze on the battlefield breaks up our combo, so we need to have a way to get rid of that card, and Dismember is probably the best way to do it. And it can also just buy us time against random Merfolk and Vendilion Clicks and Tarmogoyfs and Tassigurs. It's just a good way to stay alive until we can pull off our combo. So that's the main deck. Heartless Summoning, Altar of the Brood, and Mere Retriever are the combo pieces. Trinket Mage, Muddle the Mixture, Fabricate, and Jared's Orders help us put together our combo pieces. Then Dismember, Remand, Swansong, Gigadrouse, and Duress protect our combo. So that is the deck. And the mana base, we have 2 Drowned Catacombs, 4 Evolving Wilds, 2 Hinterland Harbors, 2 Temple of Mysteries, a Vivid Creek, Vivid Grove, a Vivid Marsh, 2 Woodland Cemeteries, 3 Swamps, 3 Islands, and 2 Forests. So the mana base, I haven't had any trouble with the colors. The deck actually isn't that color intensive. We don't have any double casting spells except for Muddle the Mixture, which is double mana, double blue mana, even to transmute. So the mana hasn't been a problem. The only thing I don't like about it, predictably with a budget deck, is we have a lot of lands that come into play tapped. So sometimes we're a turn slower than we would like to be, just because we have hands that are full of buddy lands like Hinterland Harbor, couple temples, and vivid lands, so we can't combo off as fast as we would like. That doesn't happen all the time. That's also why we included the Evolving Wilds. With Evolving Wilds, we can search for a basic land and unlock all of our buddy lands to come into play untapped. So that's the main deck. Sideboard, we have 3 Dispels. I bring these in often for the Swan Songs. Also bring them in sometimes alongside the Swan Songs if it's a matchup that's going to have a lot of counter spells, and our way of winning is to win a counter battle and force through our combo that way. Another copy of Duress, 3 copies of Nature's Claim. This gives us a shot against something like Affinity, and it also just gets rid of whatever random artifact or enchantment might be ruining our day. For example, a Leyline of the Void, which just shuts down our graveyard. Nature's Claim can get rid of that. 4 copies of Surgical Extraction. This is a really important one. Most of the time, this comes in against Eldrazi effects, cards that are just going to shuffle the entire graveyard back into the library. We can mill an infinite amount of cards once we get our combo going, but an Eldrazi will shuffle the graveyard back in infinitely. So if we can just Surgical Extraction in Emrakul, for example, before on the first time, it's still going to shuffle the graveyard back in, but that's fine because we can just keep milling off. So Surgical Extraction is mostly there to get rid of those types of cards, things that shuffle in and ruin our win condition. Swansong, another copy. 2 copies of Negate. In some matchups, Negate is better than Swansong or even Dispel, just because it hits a wider variety of targets, so it's nice to have access to it. And another copy, the 4th copy of Muldrifter, to come in just if we're playing a grindy, slow control matchup. Anyway, I actually had really good success with this deck this week, and I had a blast playing it. Definitely, I don't think my opponents had too much fun. I've talked before about how that's one of the ways I judge decks, is kind of the look on your opponent's face. And if they look shocked or angry or like they don't know what's going on, sometimes that means you're onto something. Well, the equivalent of that on Magic Online is people will, when you're about to win, they will just let their clock run down and not finish the game and not concede as kind of this punishment, like, oh, well, I'm going to make you sit there for 10 minutes. So we had a player or two do that to us. So I think this deck is having its effect, and it's surprisingly effective. Yes, it's a 3-card combo, but we have a lot of ways to put it together. More ways. Splinter Twin is a 2-card combo, but you don't get all these ways to tutor for your pieces. In this deck, we have a lot of cards that can tutor for the piece we need when we need it. So it's really not that challenging to put together the combo in this deck, and we have a lot of ways of protecting it. So I've had a lot of success with it, and I've had a ton of fun playing it. It's definitely hilarious. As you'll see, it's a little annoying online just because there's a lot of triggers and you have to do the loop manually each time. Not as bad as like our Pilla combo deck, which was painful to try to play, but this one is still, you're going to take quite a few clicks to get through the combo once you get it going. You don't have that problem in paper though, because you can just demonstrate the loop and do the whole thing. Anyway, I hope you like the videos, and give it a shot. I mean, if you want to play something different that is legitimately capable of beating tier 1 decks in Modern, try out Heartless Summoning. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Anyway, enjoy the videos, and I will talk to you guys next week.